In filmmaking, it's rare to see somebody get fired. They just never get called again. And in this industry, that's essentially the same thing. Today, we're going to be talking about mistakes that I've seen filmmakers and other crew make that get them fired. In the last video, we talked about what gets filmmakers booked and what keeps them booked. Today, we're taking the opposite angle, things to watch out for yourself. If you're new here, my name's Keaton. I am a director of photography based in Oklahoma, and I've been in the industry for a little over a decade. I'm a huge proponent and fan of efficiency, which led me to develop my app called CineTemp. The app gives you a really quick and clean reading of the color temperature of a room. Right now, we're working on version 2.0, which will also include ND calculation, and I'm excited to release that in the next few weeks. But let's get to point number 1. Not being reliable. This is probably one of the top reasons I've seen people not get called back, especially if they're early on in the career and trying to break in. Being late, not hitting deadlines, or ghosting on communications. Clients need to be able to trust that you'll deliver. Whether you're working with a production company or you're working directly with a business, good communication and being on time is the best way to build that foundation of trust. Whenever I was first getting into the industry, I didn't come up through film school, but I was easy to communicate with, I was extremely reliable, and I tried my hardest to be easy to work with whenever I was on set. Because I didn't come up in film school, I wasn't necessarily the most knowledgeable in a lot of the terms and ways that the film industry worked. But those characteristic traits of being reliable, easy to work with, and easy to communicate with went a long way and allowed me the opportunity to get more and more PA gigs, eventually leading to AC gigs, camera operator, and then eventually director of photography. Mistake number 2 is poor problem solving, or just needing your hand held on every situation that arises. We covered this a lot in the last video on strengths, and one of the biggest strengths I've seen a lot of really talented filmmakers have is really good problem solving, or analytical problem solving. No matter what your position is, it's good to implement a rule of not complaining about every problem that arises. Of course, if you're new in the industry and there's a big problem that you cannot think of a solution for, it's great to ask questions because that's the only way that you can learn. But the industry loves critical thinkers and good problem solvers. So if you can think of a creative solution to the problem at hand, that's going to help you grow faster and scale quicker in the industry. Gear will break, locations will fall through, but being able to think on your feet and pivot is really what matters. Over the last 12 years, I've had my fair share of problem solvings and things to tackle, but one thing that comes to mind was whenever I was in Hawaii doing a shoot for a watch company called Seaholm. This shoot in itself was really fun for me. I'm a man of few hobbies, but I'm a certified diver and I love diving, and I love filmmaking, so being able to combine two of my hobbies and passions was a really fun experience. Whenever we picked out this location, I noticed that the current in this particular location was pretty strong and something that I didn't want to deal with in filmmaking at the exact same time. So rather than canceling the shoot or changing the location, which was perfect for filming, I ended up calling a local dive shop and hiring one of their dive masters to come out with me to be my safety and my buddy. To me, that's an unconventional but creative way to solve a problem on set. It allowed everybody to be safe, but also allowed us to check all the boxes for the client and get everything that was on our creative deck. Which brings me to our next point. Overcomplicating setups. A lot of us are living in a day and age where we are experiencing and noticing a shift in the industry, where as we came up, we have learned to create these immaculate and beautiful setups that make the image look perfect. But with the shift in the industry right now, sometimes the perfect setup isn't the right setup for the particular jobs that are coming our way. And I think that's a mistake that I've seen some filmmakers make. As a DP, arguably one of my most important jobs is to know how to craft and shape the light, or how to communicate that. And that can lead to some really complicated setups. And that's a mistake that I've seen some DPs and filmmakers make, prescribing the wrong setup for the project. If you're a DP and you're watching this, as much as it hurts me to say, there is times where our collaborative filmmaker mind needs to take the front seat and our DP mind needs to take the back seat, just for the holistic good of the project. If you work on small or medium-sized commercial sets like a lot of us in the industry do, you need to keep in mind the point of diminishing returns. For example, if your image is 95% as good as it will ever get with the setup that you have, and that extra 5% of the image will take you additional hours that put you behind schedule or make you lose sunlight, that lemon may not be worth the squeeze. Of course, you always want to prioritize your image quality, but you also need to have your collaborative filmmaker mind take the front seat and say what is best for the project. To accomplish that, you may have to use a fixture or modifier that you didn't necessarily want to use, but that will leave a lasting impact on the client, because clients don't remember the fixture that you used, but they will remember that you were on time and you were on budget, especially if you're able to deliver a good image. Which brings me to my next point, and that's picking the wrong gear for the job. In the industry, I think that there is an objective category of the best gear, but I don't think that the best gear is always the smartest or the right move for every filmmaker. I think it's smart and wise for every filmmaker to take an objective look at the projects that they're working on, where they want to go, and the style of shooting that they do, and dial in their gear list from there. Over my career, and especially the last few years or so, I've been on the hunt for what's the highest quality, lowest friction gear I can get that makes me a more efficient filmmaker, especially for the style of shooting and types of projects that I'm working on, whether it's lenses, cameras, lights, or even audio gear. Hollyland sent me out the Lark M2 Max to test, and this is a product that I want to include here because I think that it's a really good fit. If you don't want to hear about it, you can skip to the next section. They're all timestamped below. But as always, I'm not here to sell anything. I just want to talk about my experience using the product. The Lark M2 Max puts everything that I've been wanting in these small wireless systems into one, and I think it's something that's going to stay in my kit. Just for context, about half of my projects have an audio person on them, and then the other half I'm having to do audio myself. And whenever I have to do audio myself, I need something that's efficient, fast, and high quality. This is a product I initially saw at NAB, and I've been wanting it since. In fact, I'm actually using it and have been using it for the last several videos inside of this microphone. But this system does a lot of really impressive things. It integrates directly with the Sony MI-shoe. It's got a 3.5mm lavalier input. It's got 32-bit recording. It comes with wireless headphones so you can monitor without cables. It's got noise cancellation, and if you don't want to use the lavalier, you can also just clip it onto a neckband. And although the system may not fit in the best category, it serves a very important purpose. It gives you a high-quality microphone with wireless capabilities and wireless headphones, a backup 32-bit recording, and it opens up the door to get a high-quality result with being even more efficient on set, especially if it's a smaller crude shoot. The only downside I've been able to find with this system is that I don't think that the 3.5 delivers plug-in power. I've looked through the menus and I've looked through the settings, and I haven't found a way to enable that or even see it mentioned. Certainly not a deal breaker for me, but it's something to keep in mind if you already have a microphone that you love that requires plug-in power. Now, if there's a way to get around this, or someone knows a solution to it and I'm mistaken on this, please let me know in the comments. But what this system does do is it opens up the door for even more efficiency and a high quality result on set. Which brings me to the next mistake that a lot of filmmakers make, and that's ignoring the client's bigger picture. I've seen this happen a handful of times, and a lot of times it's younger filmmakers that are shooting for their reel rather than for the client's needs. If you're in the commercial filmmaking world, commercial clients are in it for an ROI, not necessarily just for beautiful images. And in another way to think about it, sometimes the best shot isn't necessarily the best shot for the campaign. I was shooting this comedy campaign for a Kickstarter launch, and there was a particular scene, and we took it a few times as you do. Through the takes, the camera work got better and better, but when we got to post, the delivery on the first take was the best. So that's the one that we ended up going with for this particular spot. All that being said, even though it wasn't the best shot, we took that shot in post because it fit the campaign goals the best, which brings me to my next mistake that some filmmakers make, and that's being difficult to work with. A bad attitude, ego, or making someone feel undervalued is a big mistake to make. The filmmaking world is a very tight-knit world, and reputation travels fast. You can be the most insanely talented person or the hardest worker, but if you're miserable to be around, you can be sure that your name will not be on very many call sheets. I run a production company as well, and there is so many times where I would rather hire somebody that is maybe 90% as good but has a 50% better attitude than the vice versa. From my experience, if everybody on set has a good attitude, that makes the project better, which makes the end product better. No matter who your client is, 9 times out of 10, they will have some sort of boss to report to. And if they're winning, that means that you're winning. And if you win enough for them, you'll get hired back. So to sum up, like I said in the beginning, filmmakers don't get pink slips, they just stop getting called. The filmmakers that survive in this industry are problem solvers. They pick the right gear and they make their clients look good. My name's Keaton, I'm a filmmaker. I'm sharing my journey and what I've learned along the way. If you want to continue growing together, consider subscribing. This is just the beginning of the conversation.